Ebenezer Scrooge, awake! I am the ghost of the Mercedes-Benz winter event. Your time is running out. Come, I must show you the sleek CLA. Nice, said Scrooge, but I am kind of a Scrooge. No worries, the CLA offers true Mercedes performance at a surprising price. Or check out the GLC, an SUV with the full complement of technology and performance. Give your year the happy ending it deserves at the Mercedes-Benz winter event, now at your Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Right, we are now live. Welcome to the Holsworthy Mark podcast show. And today I am talking to... Anthony. Voices, Paranormal Investigations. It is a husband and wife paranormal team located in Phoenix, Arizona, aimed at discovering the truths about spirits, entities, and life after death. Tony and Cherie Rathman lead professionally operated paranormal investigators into some of the darkest corners of Arizona and just about anywhere we travel. Our mission is to seek truth of the paranormal. We are a couple who works together for the purposes of understanding paranormal phenomenon and adding to the common base of knowledge in the community wherever possible. Investigating, documenting and educating on paranormal activity is our main focus, to share those understanding and developments with all they want to listen. Above all else, we strive to communicate with respect and empathy to all beings with whom we come into contact. We welcome opportunities to provide education about the paranormal and to decrease fears about the unknown. Our speciality lies in spirit communication, whether this be through EVP or ITC communication, but seems to resonate well. But both of us have captured some amazing entity voices along our years of investigation and research. We focus on the state of Arizona, have travelled the state investigating many historical and privately owned places. With claims of paranormal activity. Over the years, we now branched outside of the state, always looking for new opportunities to research or help those in need across the country. Over the years of covering paranormal activity, EVPI began to share the things we've collected and captured with the public on our Facebook site. EVP Investigations. Recently, EVPI has partnered with the owners of the Dodge Hospital and opened the first paranormal research center at Southwest, now called Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, amazing gold mine of paranormal activity. And welcome, my friends. Hello. Sorry about that, a very long intro. And how are you today?
Doing great, Mark. How are you?
Hi. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
My wife and I are paranormal investigators. We've been doing this for about the last 8 years. We started locally in Arizona, and we started out doing haunted hotels. When we first started, I was a complete skeptic on it. My wife sort of tricked me into a weekend vacation from ghost hunting. And of course, to make her happy, I said, okay. I bought her some relatively inexpensive equipment, night vision camera, digital recorder, EMF meter, and we went for the weekend. Now, she was really happy and she was excited about it, so I let her enjoy the weekend. But when she got the stuff home and she started reviewing it, she was calling me over every 3 minutes. Look at this photo. Listen to this recording. I was absolutely blown away. I could not believe what was on there. We were one of 2 guests in that hotel that evening, and there was no outside disturbance whatsoever. We were walking down the halls asking questions, and we're getting responses, direct responses to the questions that we were asking. And it was absolutely amazing. And I tried for weeks to try to explain what had happened, how we were getting these responses, and I could never figure it out. So we just kept going back and investigating, gathering more and more victims that we had the first time, and it just continued to grow. And then we spread out throughout the state. We started going to other hotels. We went to historic locations. And as the years went by and we gathered more and more information and became more familiar with how the paranormal was working, then people started asking us to do private home and business investigations. So then we took that on. And then most recently, we had the opportunity to investigate the old Phelps Dodge Hospital, which is located in Ajo, Arizona. And it was featured on Ghost Adventures. They had been there, I think, maybe 8 months before we got in there. But we caught some of the most amazing evidence we've ever captured in 8 years of investigating out of this old hospital. And we were so excited about what we captured, we wanted to make sure that other paranormal investigators could have the opportunity to investigate it for themselves. So we opened the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, which can now be booked for 10 hours overnight from 7 p.m. till 5 a.m. in the morning.
I like that idea. Have you got any evidence on you that you can play, or is it a bit short notice?
I'm sure I do. I don't know that I can play it right off the top.
But they can visit our website.
But yeah, all of the evidence is available. There's clips both on the website for the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, which is www.coppercanyonprc.com. There are clips specifically from that location. And then, of course, we've got a YouTube channel, which is, if you search Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, will come up. Or you can just go to my Facebook, which is Tony Rathman, last name spelled Rathman, and all of our stuff is on that Facebook page as well.
Have you any personal paranormal experiences yourself?
Oh, absolutely. When we first started investigating, it was location driven, but everyone always warns about this, and I don't know that I necessarily took it seriously at that time, but people always said, be careful, protect yourself when you go out, because spirits will follow you home. And our house is probably not more than 12 years old. It's in a new neighborhood, but we have more spirits in this house than we can probably count. We can't run a video recorder or an audio recorder without getting 4 or 5 different voices making comments about whatever we're doing or talking about. And we've seen apparitions in the bedroom. We've seen noises down the hall, footsteps. So yes, all those personal experiences come twofold once you start going out and investigating, because they come to you.
And they will follow you.
And they will follow you, yes.
And I know the lady in the background is your wife, I presume?
It is.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. I thought I did introduce you because people were going to say, who's that lady in the background?
Yes, that's my wife and co-founder of Entity Voices and my paranormal partner on all investigations.
Now, I'm going to ask you the same question, Sherry. I think I've got that right.
Sure, yes.
Have you,
Sherry,
have you had any personal paranormal experiences as well?
Yes, I do. Even when I was a child, I had paranormal experiences also, but because I'm from the Philippines, there's so many things over there. But over here in the United States, when we started, my husband and I, when we started investigations or doing the paranormal investigations, I personally had so much experiences everywhere we go, and you wouldn't believe when we were at the San Carlos Hotel, and that was the very, very first location that we investigated, and we caught so many paranormal experience. Personally, both my husband and I, when we were in the room sleeping, and we're the only guests in that floor.
Right.
We can hear our wall like banging, and I can hear the voices of the woman.
Yeah, we can. The room next to us. My wife actually at about 3 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning called down to the front desk to complain about the people staying in the room next to us, and I mean the walls were banging. We could hear them screaming and moaning and all sorts of other stuff. And the lady at the front desk says, "What room are you in?" And my wife told her what room we're in. She says, "You are the only people on that entire floor."
So I'm like, I can't sleep. And I even took my cell phone to record the voices, and it's there. Oh, and not only that, I have this my favorite PJ, and so I bring my PJ everywhere we go. It's my security blanket, you know. That's my favorite. But anyway, so there's so many. To make the long story short, I was trying to look for my PJ, and because I know I wore it and changed. Why don't you explain?
Well, as the night went on and we were investigating, it was about maybe 9:30, and she put them on for the first time. And I said, "No, don't go to bed. We're not going to bed yet. It's only 9:30. We're going down to investigate the basement." So she changed back. We went down. We investigated the basement. Then we came back. It was about 11:30, and she put them on again. And I said, "No, we're going down. We're going to do the ghost lounge." So she changed again. We went back down. We investigated the ghost lounge. After we came back up, it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. She went to put her pajamas back on. She couldn't find it. We tore the entire room apart. Now, remember, she's had them on twice already. We could not find them. We literally searched everywhere. We went through every drawer, pillowcases, under the mattress, everywhere you could possibly imagine that they could be hiding. We couldn't find them.
So actually, I end up wearing his boxer shorts that night.
You did. But tell them the end part when we got home.
So when we were checking out the next day, so the receptionist says that is everything okay? How was your sleep? How was your night? So I said the only problem is I can't find my PJ, and it got lost or something somehow. When we get home, so I went directly to our master bathroom, and I saw the hamper, and my pajama was laying in there and folded. So I called Tony, and I said, "Babe, come over here. Look at this."
The craziest thing I have ever witnessed and ever seen.
And we don't want to say these things because I know people won't.
People think we're crazy when we say stuff like that, but this happened, and I saw her put them on twice, and we got home, and they were here and folded and laying on the hamper, which is just insane.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's definitely weird. I was going to ask you what the weirdest one you've ever had, but that's obviously is the weirdest one you've ever had.
Yeah, that. We don't talk about that much. I'm surprised she actually said it because.
Well, that is my very, very personal experience that I can't explain even you.
No, I
can't. Now, what is your personal theory that ghosts are?
Well, I think there's a variety of types, and there's sort of the standard definitions that you have. You have ghosts, your spirits, which we've been told actually by them they prefer that word. They don't prefer ghosts; they prefer spirits. Poltergeists, shadow figures. And then, of course, your demonic entities, which are completely different than any of the three I just mentioned. But, they each have their individual reasons for being around. They have their individual agendas. A spirit could just be missing life itself. They could be upset about the way they died. They could be here to help someone out. They could be here because they lost their path
unfinished business.
To the other side or unfinished business. When you get into poltergeists, poltergeists seem to be an energy release from another human being. So in other words, that energy that's reflecting or moving things or causing the disturbance is actually caused from the actual individual who is living and who's repressing very stressful, very hurtful feelings, and those feelings, that energy is pushing out into the realm of the spiritual world, and it's causing those activities, it's moving those objects. Shadow people, that one's still kind of unknown, what their purpose and reason is, but they're usually of a negative factor. And then, of course, you move to the demonic entities, which are way off the charts from any of the first three. So that's our background and perception of the kind of ghosts, kind of spirits, and the various demonic entities that are out there.
Do you find that people get confused between bad ghosts and demonic ghosts?
All the time. In fact, the slightest bit of paranormal activity, and a lot of this is due to the television shows that are out today, but they automatically assume that if, an object moves or they hear a voice, that it's demonic, and that is not the case at all.
Yeah, I find a lot of people do get confused between the two. I'm not saying there isn't demonic spirits out there, of course there are, but no, not as common as people think they are.
Not as common at all, no.
Have you ever come across one yourself?
We have. We did a private investigation about 8 or 9 months ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the woman who contacted us was complaining about strange activity, voices, objects moving. And so we drove out to Las Vegas and we spent about 5 hours in her home investigating. And we caught everything from shadow figures to strange phenomena. I don't know exactly how to describe it. Mist-like figures falling from the ceiling and shooting across our cameras. And then we did a portal session where the voices that were coming through were so clear and such direct responses to the questions that I was asking, and absolutely vicious and mean. And there were multiple ones there, and they weren't attached to the house, they were attached to her or an object in the house,
Which
she had lots of them that they could have been attached to. But we ended up having to get a demonologist out of LA and an archbishop to come and exorcise her home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you live in Arizona way, and I know that around where you are, there's also UFO sightings.
There's lots of them. There's a ranch, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
Walker.
No, not Skinwalker. That's Vegas.
Oh, okay.
I meant Colorado. Sorry.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of it, but it's not more than 15 miles from where we live, and it has a tremendous amount of UFO activity. And Arizona is known for it. I mean, most people know of what they call the Phoenix Lights, which are these huge craft which circle over the city. I think just a couple years ago, we were sitting out on the balcony and saw one shoot across the sky. It's an amazing sight.
Right.
And, the thing about the paranormal world is there's a lot of connections between spiritual paranormal and UFOlogy, and there's a lot of people that think even when you're using such devices as spirit boxes or portals, we're not 100% sure who we're talking to. Could it be extraterrestrial intelligence? Yeah, I mean, it could be. We don't know for sure. That's part of the research that's happening among people that are doing this. But there's a lot of crossover between, like I said, spiritual, paranormal, UFOlogy, even Bigfoot research. There's theories that these might be interdimensional creatures, and that the whole aspect of everything that involves on the paranormal side could all be connected.
Yeah, that's the reason why it's called paranormal. You can't.
Correct. Well, paranormal is the unexplained and undefinable. But yeah, there's some strange connections between all of those fields.
Well, when I started in the world of cryptozoology, and when I used to look up ley lines, I used to find a lot of on ley lines there would be a report of a cryptid, a UFO sighting, and a paranormal sighting, all in the same area.
Yeah, that's very common, and that I think is pulling some of the teams together, where people who investigate paranormal and people who investigate cryptozoology or UFOlogy, find themselves on similar timelines and similar research, and we've seen them band together to try to explain what the different things that are happening, and that I think is a good thing.
Have you ever seen Bigfoot or heard of Bigfoot in your area?
This is a funny story, but
you had an experience.
I was not, years ago, I was not a Bigfoot believer either, but I took my youngest, I guess he was my youngest, no, he was my oldest. I took my oldest son camping, and we went up what's called the Mogollon Rim in Arizona, and most people, when they think of Arizona, they think of it as all desert, and that's not the case. Arizona is a unique state because in the Phoenix area, yes, it's Sonoran desert, but if you travel an hour and a half, 2 hours north, we have one of the biggest pine forests in the country. And it's a beautiful, beautiful area. Well, anytime we would go camping, I didn't like campgrounds. I didn't like people camping 20 feet from me. I wanted to be out in nature and alone. So we'd always take these fire trails through the forest miles and miles back. So we're camping, and it's about, I don't know, maybe 10:30 at night, and we're trying to get the kids to bed. And my son, every 3 minutes, is like, "Daddy, what's that?" It's just an owl, Sean. It's fine. It's just an owl. "Daddy, what's that?" It's just a coyote, Sean. No big deal. Then this screeching howl came out of nowhere. It was so loud that I could literally, sleeping on the ground on my sleeping bag, I could feel the vibration of it. And it went from what sounded like a bear growl to a high-pitched male scream. It was absolutely terrifying. And my son said, Daddy, what's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I was petrified. I grabbed a gun, I grabbed a flashlight. I was expecting it to be standing 3 feet from the tent. I unzipped it, ran out there, found absolutely nothing, and I will never forget that experience as long as I live.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, I follow a thing about British Bigfoot over here, where people think, "Oh, how can it be possible over here?" But there's a lot of eyewitness accounts.
Right, and this, people can hear a story and then repeat it, but I mean, there is some proof. There's footprints. They have some hair samples now, and the reports are being substantiated by lots of people who have experienced this. Now, the questions still come forward. Why is there no evidence? Why are there no bodies? Why is nothing found? And those are all good questions, but the real answer might be that whatever this being is may have some interdimensional qualities or some abilities far beyond what we as humans have, and that's why it's so elusive to find, track, or capture.
Well, I study archaeology, and recently they found some bones that they think could possibly, and there's strong evidence now that it could be the Littlefoot. There's a lot of scientific belief. Well, there's at least one scientist that believes it could be Littlefoot, and it's part of a species of human that has been forgotten.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on our friend Google or Bling or whatever research engine you use. Just look it up and you'll find that there is on there somewhere.
Absolutely. I wasn't aware of that, and I will definitely take a look.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I mean, obviously, I take everything as the skeptical view, as you probably do yourself, because you have to.
Yeah, you have to, because, there are so many stories, and a lot of the information comes off the internet, and we all know that, what's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And so my wife and I were the same way, and my father was a physicist, chemistry teacher, physical science teacher, so I was raised with that scientific methodology in my head, and if I couldn't explain it through science, it didn't exist. Well, when Cherie got me into this and I started getting responses and voices that I could not explain, that's when my attention turned. But you're absolutely right. You have to go into it with a balance of both skepticism and trying to find logical and reasonable explanations for what you're finding before you ever jump to it being paranormal.
Yeah, a lot of research.
A lot of testing, a lot of there's so much involved in being able to finally classify it as saying this is paranormal.
Now, I read that about your gold mine thing. Is that correct? The gold mine place?
Copper mine?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a gold mine, copper mine. I get confused about. It's a mine.
It's a mine, right? It's a copper mine, and yeah, they did pull some gold out of it, and they did pull some silver out of it. But that particular area had been mined, oh my gosh, back to the early 1800s, mid 1800s, all the way from Spanish miners, Mexican miners, Native American miners, because there were three mountains that were literally about 45 to 50% copper, and they would literally shine when the sun hit them. And so they were mining this stuff with individual tunnels and making jewelry and trading the copper for, various other food, water, whatever else they needed. But there were some struggles amongst the different groups that were mining, and of course there were a ton of casualties. Well, then they brought in a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Greenway, who actually moved the town because he was going to do an open pit mine, and he built, at the time, and the hospital went up in 1919 and rivaled some of our East Coast hospitals at the time. It was top of the line. And he basically turned it into an open pit mine rather than having people get killed in tunnel collapses. And this went on from 1919 to 1985, when the mine finally shut down because copper prices fell, and they had some labor strike problems and other things. But between the mining accidents, this is obviously the Southwest, so between gunfights, between barroom brawls, between diseases that there weren't vaccinations for prior to after World War II, there were thousands of deaths in this 30,000 square foot hospital, and the history behind it is amazing, and the activity that is occurring in this hospital, it sat vacant since 1986. We finally got it up and running and open for people to come and investigate, but even in the 5 hours, the first night we spent in there, the evidence we captured in those 5 hours was more than we had ever captured in any other location we've investigated.
Well, you obviously have Cornish miners must have gone over where you are, because a lot of Cornish miners went over to the to help build mines in America and South Africa and places like that.
You are absolutely correct, and there were multiple European people that came over as well to try and make a better life, make some money, mining, whether it be for gold, silver, or copper, because the Southwest here in the States was huge during that time because it was unexplored territory. So yeah, there were European miners, there were people from South Africa, there were Asian miners, there were
around the world.
Right, it was basically, there were people from all around the world that came to do this.
Now, I'm going to ask the obvious question, because people are going to say, ask the obvious question. Obviously, where you are, the Wild West. Now, I read a lot about the Wild West, and it isn't quite what we thought it was.
And what was your impression of it?
I read a lot of it. One of the best gunfighters around was a woman. It wasn't a man. That most people couldn't shoot a barn door if it was in front of them.
That might very well be true, because I don't think the majority of the population spent their time, shooting. But I think somebody who was either on the right side of the law or the wrong side of the law had plenty of practice. And those are the people where you get the legends of like Jesse James and Billy the Kid and all the names that are known for the Southwest history of gunfighters. Doc Holliday.
Wire.
Who?
Who's that? The last name? Wire?
The Wilder lived into 1919, didn't he? He actually was helped to make one of the first silent westerns.
Yes, that is true.
I see. I'm quite a historian. I like figures and dates. I have all these wonderful figures and dates in my head. They come in useful sometimes.
Yeah, they make all sorts of Western films, and some of them are accurate, and some of them not so much. But anytime anything hits TV or movie, because they're looking for ratings, not necessarily documentaries. So some of that truth gets stretched, and some of it gets pulled apart and applied differently. But that's the way show business works.
Have you got any sort of like hauntings there that are related to like the Wild West?
Many. The hospital, which we've turned into the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, is definitely has that Wild West history to it. There's a bar up in Payson called the Oxbow Saloon, which has definite paranormal activity. We investigated that place as well. It's in 1890s.
Something like yeah.
Yeah, it's in 1890s. It's a wood building, and it's still standing, and it's in actually really good shape because
Still operating,
and that was one of the main stops when people crossed from San Diego. Yeah. There's multiple other ones. There's the Jerome Grand Hotel, which again was mining based in Jerome, Arizona. And it was originally their hospital, and then they turned it into a hotel. But they are known for their paranormal activity. Then you move to like Bisbee, which again, Phelps Dodge Mining Company. They were mining copper there as well. They've got multiple buildings in that city that was all, the Old West style, the architecture, the history of, gunfights, mining, all sorts of deaths that are occurring, but they've got the Copper Queen Hotel, Oliver House. There's probably 10 or 15 of them down there with a very well-known history of hauntings and paranormal activity happening. But a lot of people don't think of the Southwest as being a paranormal hotspot because they're looking for buildings that are 1700s, early 1800s, which here in the United States, those buildings exist only in the East Coast and the Midwest. As you move west, Arizona didn't even become a state till 1912. So that, a lot of that history and historical sites don't exist anymore, because when something becomes run down here, they knock it down and put up something new literally overnight. So to be able to hang on to that history and hang on to those buildings, that's an important aspect of history, and I love to be able to see buildings like that survive.
Do you encourage historic development?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously you have to have historical development in order for your city to thrive, but there should be a sense of respect to some of the buildings that really tie to the history of the city or the state, and I think those should be protected, absolutely.
Can I ask your wife again a question?
Sure.
Now, you said earlier you had Philippine connections. That was correct, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now, does it have you, I know that don't take this the wrong way. Your culture has a lot of influence about spiritual connections in it as well.
For sure, yes. There's a lot of paranormal or spiritual.
The White Lady?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's highly Philippine.
Well, we called it White Lady because it's a white mist. It's a mist, and you get rid of a body figure. So my youngest brother saw that like walking towards him, and so he was really frightened when we were in our rest house. Yeah, there's so many history over there.
Manananggal?
Yeah, those are, I don't know what you call those, manananggal. It's
a cryptozoology kind of figure. But
That's all right, because they all do intermix eventually, don't they?
yeah, you know what? My wife and I have been talking many times that that's one of the things we want to do the next time we get over to the Philippines is they have buildings that have literally sat vacant for years and years and years, and they all have haunted histories. And one of the things in the Philippines is they have very strong connection that when something's either labeled as haunted or paranormal activity happening, they literally back away. They want nothing to do with it. But it leaves all these available spots for us to be able to go into to investigate. And so we've been discussing that the last couple of years, that we need to get back over there and take our equipment with us and get an opportunity to see what we can capture, in the Philippines. And what is very exciting for me is I would love to see if I can ask a question in English and whether I get an answer in English or in Tagalog, or if Cherie can ask a question in Tagalog and what language that answer comes back in.
But you know what, Mark, do you know Josh Gates' show or Destination Tourist?
No, I'll be honest.
No, but anyway, Josh Gates went to the Philippines, and he does ask a question in English, and he received some responses too. Remember?
He did. I do remember that, but I would like to try that ourselves and see what kind of response we get.
Yeah.
I imagine have you been to Gettysburg? Because I've heard that's very haunted.
No, that is one spot we have not been to, and yes, Gettysburg has a tremendous amount of paranormal activity, and of course because of the Civil War that was going on there and the massive amount of deaths that occurred and just the tragic loss of life on both sides of the war. It's heartbreaking when you think about it, and that would definitely leave the traumatic stress and impact on the environment that those wars were fought on. And yeah, that activity is going to replay, whether it be residual haunting or an intelligent haunting. And I know that people who have been there have experienced both. And that's one of those situations where you're going to experience that when you have that amount of loss of life.
Exactly.
Well, I only mention that because obviously over here in the UK we have lots of lots of haunted history of castles and oldest, like dating way back to like 14th, 13th, even 12th century, and I think it's fascinating that, and I always like to think how, if I know sometimes it's hard for Americans to come over to do paranormal investigations over here because it's a bit trickier. But I think it's worthwhile for sort of like one doing an interchange, like one comes over where you are and one goes over where we are. Obviously the ghosts aren't going to be much different, but just to see what kind of things, see if you might get different readings.
Exactly, and trust me, we as we dive or have been diving in the last 8 years into the paranormal, we are unbelievably envious of the fact that, you know, Europe has that history, has those buildings who have stood for hundreds of years, and you know, you've got century after century of families who have lived in these castles, and you know, you've had every traumatic event for the last 400 years happening on those grounds and in those walls. And so yeah, that's definitely on our bucket list to get over there as well.
Are there other things that you do as well besides your paranormal? Do you do anything outside of the paranormal world?
We have a day job.
Yeah, we have day jobs, but as far as hobbies go, we do metal detecting as well. It's one of our other favorite things to do, because it somewhat ties in, and you know, it brings objects out of the ground that have buried for years, and sometimes they're valuable, sometimes they're valuable on a historic level. So we've been doing that for years as well. But yeah, we've got day jobs, we've got family, we've got kids, we
have dog.
We've got pets. So you know, on a day-to-day basis, we're pretty normal family. But when night comes around and weekends come around, then we either hit the paranormal or metal detecting or the research center.
What do you think about time travel? I believe at the moment, now this is I've always said this, I say this a lot, but this is just my personal theory, that we are technically time travelling now, as I speak to you. Because you are in the past and I am in the future.
Yeah, actually, that's true, because we're having a live conversation and we're in completely two different time zones. So yeah, technically, yeah, you are doing that. And you know, there's been so much research on everything from black holes to again, back into the extraterrestrial thing, that's how they feel that they're coming in and out. But then that whole time travel thing gets into the whole multi-universe thing, and if universes can run parallel to each other at the same time, and then it's not necessarily a matter of changing time, it's just a matter of changing frequency to exist in the other universe. And so if your line of thinking goes along any of those lines, they all pull together. So is time travel then technically possible? Yeah, it would be.
I think I read somewhere, don't quote me on this, that there is actually an astronaut that technically did time travel for, I think it was a cosmonaut, that travelled technically for like half a minute, something to do with the going around the world and something. Don't quote me on it. I read it somewhere, I can't remember where I read it, and it's annoying me because it's in my brain, and I know I read it. I'm not making it up, but I can't remember where to
I remember something. Yeah, I think I remember something along that lines too.
So I mean, I know a lot of astronauts that come back, and they going back to aliens. There's a lot of astronauts that come back and say, "Yes, we have seen something." And obviously, there's the old moon theory that aliens are on the moon, and that's why they told us not to come back.
Right.
I like that. I like that theory. Basically, you didn't land on the moon. because of the flag, and it's nothing to do with the flag. It's all to do with that film.
Right. You know, there's all sorts of information that I think hasn't even been released yet and has been covered up for centuries about what actually exists. And you know, the theory is that it would create panic, and you know, the majority of the population probably isn't ready to hear what's actually out there, and that's the reasoning they say for all the secrecy that's surrounding it. But you know, as the years pass and as people see more things and as people capture more UFOs, hopefully it'll start to break down. I know there are various governments that are pushing for exclusive release of the information. Canada was, I can't remember the other one, Scandinavia, or I don't remember what country it was, but they were all pushing for full release of information on extraterrestrial.
Do you think the paranormal world is getting more and more expansive?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a tricky field because.
Well, you're gonna start. Well, first of all, yes, it's true. Paranormal, it's getting expensive nowadays because, first of all, if you want to look for a location, you have to pay for, for a location for you to stay, for you to investigate.
Yeah,
Equipment,
even the travel. I mean, just
Exactly.
look at where we've all been. I mean, from 8-9 hour car rides to flights across the country to go check out locations that were being claimed to be haunted. Equipment, absolutely. I mean, there's new gadgets coming out all the time. Now, do all of them work? No. And do all of them work for every person that uses them? No. There's certain gadgets that work best for certain people, and we have ours that we prefer and we use on a regular basis. But yeah, and then to top it off, there's no monetary payback for it. We do everything on our own money. We do everything on our own time.
we don't get paid for it.
We don't charge for anything. When we do investigations, we're there to help both the people that are concerned about the activity happening, and of course the spirits that are either trapped or in pain or whatever the case may be. But yeah, there's no monetary return on it. So it can get expensive. Yes.
It's our passion, and it's our passion in life. And
Right. We do it for that reason because we're passionate about it and we want to learn.
I think that's very important. I think that's the most important thing. Do you? I don't know if you have the same problem. Sometimes groups clash over here. They don't like giving out information saying, "Oh, we won't tell you where that haunting was because we don't want you to know where it is." That kind of thing.
We have the exact same problem, and I'm going to take a bet that it's probably even worse here. Everybody is competing. It's crazy to me because it's not a competition. It's not about what you capture. It's about sharing what you capture. And we've always been a real big supporter of sharing our evidence, and we post everything that we catch. People will ask me, "Hey, where'd you capture that?" I'll tell them. It's not a secret. It shouldn't be a secret. People here will steal other people's evidence and post it as their own. They will restrict other investigators to going to locations because they think it's theirs, and they don't want them to capture stuff that they've captured. And then you get into the whole Facebook thing where teams are ripping each other apart, and it's just sad because if we're all in this event together to find out what exists within the paranormal, we'll do it much better together than we ever will apart.
learn from each other.
Right.
Now, obviously you gave out your links earlier on, but would you like to give them again, just in case people are tuning in and they'd like to find out where they can find it?
Absolutely. if you're on Facebook, you can find me under, if you just search Tony, Tony, Rathman, Rathman, you'll find me instantly on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. If you search Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations, will come right up. And then
Our website.
oh, the website for the Copper Canyon Paranormal Research Center, which I highly recommend to any investigators who happen to be either in Arizona or coming to Arizona for a vacation. If you like paranormal investigation, this place is amazing, and you can find that at www.coppercanyonprc.com.
I just thought it's important that people like to know where to go, because obviously we've had a great chat. And before I go, I normally do like a unique sign-off. So I'm going to ask you, what would your unique sign-off would be? That goes to both of them. It goes both to you, Tony, and your wife, Sherry.
Sign off.
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before, so that's unique, Mark. But I guess
a hard time over here, Mark.
I guess probably the proper sign off to anyone who is interested in the paranormal is our sign off would be happy hunting, but be safe, protect yourself, and always and never let your guard down.
There you go. Likewise here.
Right, this is mine to you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you, Tony and Sherry, for being on my show. It was nice to have a chat about things they know. I liked that you talked about everything from paranormal to UFO. So I'd like to say thank you for being on my show.
That was great, Mark. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friends.
All right.
Ebenezer Scrooge, awake! I am the ghost of the Mercedes-Benz winter event. Your time is running out. Come, I must show you the sleek CLA. Nice, said Scrooge, but I am kind of a Scrooge. No worries, the CLA offers true Mercedes performance at a surprising price. Or check out the GLC, an SUV with the full complement of technology and performance. Give your year the happy ending it deserves at the Mercedes-Benz winter event, now at your Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.